Hello, everyone. I'm Phyllis Dickerson, the CEO of the African American Mayors Association. Joining me today is my co-host and friend, Mayor Van Johnson from the great city of Savannah. Mayor, thank you for joining me today.
I'm always a pleasure just to be in your presence. I mean, thank you for allowing me to be here as a proud member of the African American Mayors Association, talking with mayors and talking with other interesting people in our world as we break it down.
So today on our Mayors Breaking It Down podcast, we invited one of our partners in the work. We invited the executive director / CEO of the National Forum for Black Public Administrators, where we all got our start.
NFBPA.
NFBPA. Right. So we have joining us today, Marcia Connor from there. Marcia, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Old friends, it's like home week.
Yes. So, Marcia, some of our listening audience, they've never heard of NFBPA. So explain to us, what is NFBPA? Like, what do you do?
Well, I always like to jokingly say we're the wind beneath your wings as mayors. We are an organization of what we call our public administrators. We run the day-to-day of your cities across the country, anywhere from entry level to city managers and county managers.
Perfect. So tell us a little bit about who Marcia is and how did you get to this position? Like, what was your career track?
Well, that's interesting. I actually have a master's in urban planning. So I've been doing this work, I hate to say this, probably about a little over 20 years. I came to this work really as an intern with Miami-Dade County. And for there, I have progressed to be a city manager in a small town, a budget director for a large county, assistant city manager in Austin, city manager in Durham. So I've come to this from the public sector with lots of experience at both small communities, large counties, and mid-sized range cities. With a wealth of experience, whether it's being the city manager and guiding the vision of the city council and implementing those types of things. My background is mainly finance, economic development is really how I came to this position.
Oh, it's been said that a lot of people may have never heard of NFBPA, but they've certainly been touched by a member of NFBPA, and your name is legendary among the luminaries of NFBPA, serving as one of our national presidents as well, at one point as well. In terms of public administration, and we think about it in that context, tell us a little bit more about the organization itself.
Okay. So NFBPA, we have about 2,500 members. We have 41 chapters across the country. We are probably every place that you could probably go in local government or county government, there's a member of NFBPA. Our overall mission is really to develop the next generation of public sector leaders. And so we have programs that start as a mentor program, an executive leadership program, but we also have a city county manager symposium. So we're best known for leadership development. In all areas of public sector, whether you're entry level or you're a senior level person.
So we talk about how Van and I were raised in NFBPA, correct? So you get to see us go from ground zero, from lower level positions in municipal government to where we are now. So what does that feel like, and how does that legacy help NFBPA?
Well, I would say I'm probably an example of that legacy of NFBPA. I started as an intern. That's when I first found out about NFBPA. And so as you move through your career, there's always a place for you in NFBPA. We really push mentoring, making sure that we have someone who comes behind you. And when I get calls about, we're looking for an assistant city manager or someone who can do this, we can always look through our membership and find someone. When you're in an executive leadership program, you are primed to be that next leader. So we have a plethora of individuals who've gone through there. I'd say close to about 700 individuals that we can always call on to recommend to a mayor recommend to a city council someone who can work with them in the work that they do in cities. And one of the things about NFBPA, where you might have the Black accountants, you might have other different groups that are segmented by careers, we actually accept all careers. We have individuals who also work in education, state government, local government, even federal government.
Well, NFBPA was born out of a place that we need to create and carve for us a place that was not for us. NFBPA proudly is more than just Black folks now.
That's true.
And I will tell you that if it had not been for NFBPA, I certainly would not be who I was. Having the opportunity to just be in spaces and see people that look like me doing like amazing stuff, all of a sudden I had to get my game up, and they were always so kind and always so willing to share. Here's my phone number, here's my email, talk to me. And, for me, it was an incubator. And I guess Phyllis and I hope to be that for other people because we didn't get here by ourselves.
You certainly didn't. And we stress mentoring. If you ask people what is the best thing that they know about NFBPA, it's really networking. We stress networking. We stress making sure that young people who are coming out of college now, see people in positions that they can aspire for. The city manager of Dallas, city manager of Charlotte, the county manager of Kalamazoo, Michigan. All across this country, whether you're in a town or a city, you can find an NFBPA member. And that's really important to be able to see someone doing something that you aspire to do and that they are African American.
So, Marcia, I know you have your mentoring program, but you also have your ELI program. So tell our listening audience, what is ELI and how do you become a part of it?
So our Executive Leadership Institute has actually been around since 1987. But of course, as public administration has changed, we've changed along with it. Currently, we have a partnership with Georgetown University where you actually end up with a certificate program in government from Georgetown University. We are actually going to be recruiting very soon. Our application opens this week for the Executive Leadership Institute. And what we try to do is prepare that next generation of leader who is just about to become that department director, that city manager, that assistant manager. And so we look at curriculums that we think will help them hone their skills, whether it's data analytics, whether it's leadership development. We also assign them a personal coach to assist them through this program. So right now, our program starts in January and it ends in May. We do a combination of hybrid, both virtual and in-person classes. And our cohorts are generally about, I'd say about 15 to 16 people. So you can get that individual attention. The coaching is great. You will also have a special project that you're assigned to. And you really have a cohort of colleagues from across the country. And what we know is, it's funny, I thought when we went to a hybrid that the connection and that bonding would be there. I am just absolutely floored about how they do connect because they get to work on issues, whether it's in their community or other communities. They get to have, at the end of this program, 15 people that they can count on for whatever issue that they're facing in their local government. They have someone that they can call.
And every year in April, we have what's called Forum, which is the family reunion of the NFBPA. All the big mamas, the pops, the cousins, the nieces, and everybody shows up in a different city to be able to reflect, recharge, learn, and go forward. I've always been impressed with NFBPA's ability to leverage corporate partners to give scholarships to those that are actively engaged in study of public administration, and how inspiring that is that these are young people that are doing great things, and yet they're getting help from the organization. I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Well, I would say to you that it's really important for us to continue to build the next generation of public leaders. So we spend a lot of time working with our corporate sponsors to really provide those young people with an experience to not only come to Forum, but they also get a scholarship, which helps them, underwrite expenses, or it could be for housing, for school. And so we give some out for undergraduates, individuals, as well as graduate students. And they range anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000. But what I think is even more incredible is they get the opportunity to come to our annual conference. They get to meet the sponsor. But what they really get to do, and they get wowed by, is being able to see people like Phyllis, yourself, interact with city managers, emerging leaders, and the opportunity to really experience what NFBPA is. But also they can see their future because they can see themselves in the individuals who are there. And we love to have interns come, particularly if they represent a city where there's a chapter. They walk away not only with the experience of being there in a scholarship, but they get a great network. And I tell them all the time, a good thank you. You might even leave with some additional funding for some books, because we want to make sure that they're supported and they know that they have an organization that's there for them.
You remember your first forum?
I do remember my first forum. It was in Fort Worth.
See, yes.
Was that your first?
No, I think I was Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
Baltimore.
Long time ago.
I was going to say, the funny part about Baltimore, we were just there in April.
Right.
And the county commissioner, the county exec, and the mayor of Baltimore, when someone said that this was the 41st conference, they sat there and they looked at each other and they said, wow, we're just 40 years old. I don't think we can do it.
Exactly.
So that was really, a moment when you think about the new generation of mayors that are coming and really introducing NFBPA to a whole new leadership again and again and again.
This is a cheery moment for me, Marcia. As you know, my first NFBPA experience was in 2006 in January. We went to a board meeting, and I was to do strategic planning for Bruce Moore, the city manager of Little Rock, who has now passed away as of last year. And so this is just a real moment for me to even think about. I was in Tallahassee, Florida. People like Anthony Snipes and Jonathan Allen and all those people were new and upcoming, soon to be assistant city managers, and then went on to be city managers and doing great things right now. So as we talk about like just even relationships in NFBPA, I think people in our listening audience don't know it truly is a family, right? It is a real family, because I met Van at NFBPA. And
You haven't get rid of me yet.
And so he was on city council, right? And so talk about like what that means. Like, this really is a family, and we're there for each other. We hurt for each other. We're there in our wins and in our losses, all the way to the end. I remember when Van was running for mayor, and I called him. I said, nobody told me you were running for mayor. And he was like, I was wondering why you didn't send me a campaign donation. And I'm like, because you didn't call and tell me. And so all of a sudden I called everybody I knew.
Next thing you know, ching, 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 ching. All right.
And so we are really a family. And so as we end this conversation, talk about that family and what it means in your career.
It's, we talk about being a family, but it's a true family. And whether you're in Houston right now and you have difficulties, we have chapter members that we can reach out and we can touch people. Soon as something happens in the community, if someone transitions jobs, we get a call and we're here to help them. You begin that network. Well, can you help so-and-so? I know so-and-so needs a call or has a need. Whether we show up for, unfortunately, we've had a lot of deaths in NFBPA this year. And so we're there as a family to support each other. But we support you when you're doing well. We also support you when things aren't well, when the headlines are out there. It is one of the things I think we do best is pick up that phone and call. How can I help you? What do you need? What can we do to make things better for you? And it's that friendliness, that call, just like you're a family member, someone picks up, they can see a headline. And, people say, how did you know? I said, you know what? It's just that network. We're family like that. Recently, I was in Dallas, and we have an interim manager in the city of Dallas, and she received an award. And then all of a sudden, we were all up front, and she was so teary-eyed. She said, I can't believe that you guys are here to support me. I said, you never know. There's always an NFBPA member there. And we support each other. We support each other when you're up. We support you when you're down. And also, one of the great things is, even in transition, we have a program to help you. You know, we do consulting work. And so we're looking for people who are in transition. We're there to help you. And I think there's nothing better than that support you get from your family. And we're always there. We're networking is probably the best thing that we do for you and help you and connect you to people who look like you, people who don't. And we have great partnerships with other organizations. So, we're always called for either the next job, the next person, the recruitment, also to lift people when they're down. And Phyllis mentioned Bruce. Bruce was a great manager. We have favorite stories about Bruce and his leadership and the things that he liked to do. But you get to know your presidents really well. It's an organization where everybody participates. And there's not a stranger, from the person who walks into a workshop for the first time, comes to the organization for the first time. You can say, I met that person. And it's really funny. I had the opportunity over the weekend to have lunch with one of our long-term employees. And they were saying, the best thing about NFBPA, we got to meet Al Sharpton there. Do you remember that? Maynard Jackson. They all came to our conferences, and we were able to talk to them. Well, there's a whole new generation of who those people are, those speakers are now.
Right.
And so we try to bring best in class. We want our members to come to NFBPA and know that we're going to give them the best that they can have and connect them with people that they think they can't touch. And I think that makes that strength of NFBPA, that memory that people have about being in a family. It's that close-knit family.
Ossie Davis, Johnny Cochran, Bill Clinton, courtesy of Phyllis. But finally, let me just ask you briefly, we are at a critical crossroads in our country. And we know that managing and administering in the public space has become more challenging for people that are in appointed positions, particularly city managers. If we're feeling it as politicians and those in elected space, then certainly it is gravitating. What would be your thoughts as it relates to managing in these very, very polarized times that we find ourselves living in?
What we would say to our managers and to our employees, you have to remain steadfast and focused, because we have a job to do. And one of the things about our profession, it doesn't matter whether you're red or you blue. The trash has to be picked up.
Right.
Phone calls have to be answered. People want to know that you care about them. And I'm a little biased because I believe it happens at the local level. Whatever happens at the federal level, at the state level, it rolls down local. Why? Because we see the people on the street every day. We see that need, and we have to address that and be there for them. So what we say to our managers and to our employees, stay steadfast in the work that you do, because what you do impacts everyday living for folks. Whether your council changes, we have to make sure that the work is done. And so I think you have to stay focused, and particularly now, because local government right now, you're faced with gun violence, teenage violence. We're faced with climate change. We have flooding. We have emergencies. And so we have to maintain our focus that our real job is for the people we serve in the communities in which we live.
So, I'm going to close it out with my number one question.
Oh, no, don't ask it. Don't ask it. Don't ask it. Don't ask it.
Marcia is
don't ask it.
not a die girl.
Don't ask it. Oh, don't ask her.
Yeah.
Why an HBCU grad and why Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated?
First fam. Go ahead.
You know what? That's really interesting. I had the opportunity probably to go to many, many PWIs when I graduated. you. And someone asked me today, how do we miss you? I said, you know what? I probably, because I've been like one of the onlys in a lot of situations. First, we came through segregation, right? First going to predominantly white schools, et cetera, being the only on the honor society and things like that. And I just really, really wanted to go and get that HBCU experience. My mother graduated from Allen University and HBCU experience. I had been to South Carolina State College and a number of them for homecoming. And so when I really had that experience, I decided to go to the school in Alabama, Talladega College. And really, I remember when the recruiter came, he was calling it the Little Harvard of the South. And I was like, okay, I can get that too. And then my sorority is Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Inc. I should say it's the first and the finest, but really, it's one of the things I will say is that I remember being, my mother never pledged, but all her friends were Alpha Kappa Alpha women. So I went to regionals. I participated in programs. And so when I got to campus, I would tell you it was all my big sisters were Deltas. All the other friends were AKA. And so, I just knew when I went to college, that's what I wanted to do. So, and I was probably influenced by the women in my mom's circle. One of my tutors was an Alpha Kappa Alpha woman. And interestingly enough, growing up, I never knew this. But when I got to Talladega, I was in the Ivy room. And I saw her picture and her name. I said, oh my gosh, I never knew she went here. And she was a graduate of Chi chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha at Talladega College.
There you have it. You heard it first right here on our Mayor's Breaking It Down podcast with the amazing Marcia Connor. Marcia, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Phyllis. And you guys are always going to be a part of us. So you're part of the family too. Always. Great to break bread with you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.